China and Qatar could also be strengthened. Ahmet Berat ÇONKAR is an MP for the ruling AK party in Istanbul, and he's also deputy head of the Turkish delegation to NATO.
I think that the Turkey's economy's fundamentals are quite strong. Okay, we have a current account deficit and we have some budget deficit, but this is normal as long as you can pay off this with inflows of capital and tourism and all the export revenues. And Turkey was able to do that. However, if you get under a speculative attack from some financial centers, any country can go through this kind of a difficulty. So,
if you see this, though, as an attack from outside forces, why not take steps to protect yourselves? Why not put up interest rates, for instance?
We are looking at this issue from a long-term perspective. We are not looking at just raising the interest rates and bringing the hot money again, leaving the same conditions that we have lived before.
But a long-term perspective is one thing. There is a crisis in the value of the lira right now.
This is not just affecting Turkey's economy or financial system. The global financial system is integrated to European banks, European economies. So if somebody is going to be careful about managing this, it's not going to be the only Turkish government or the Turkish ministers. Other actors also should act responsibly and do not use this kind of speculative attacks to foreign exchange markets. Mr. Trump's attitude to penalize Turkey by US dollar is not acceptable. This creates very disturbing conditions for the whole world economy, I think.
If, as you've made clear, relations between Turkey and the United States are very strained, could your country turn towards China or Russia or perhaps Iran, Qatar for help?
Turkey has been a NATO ally for 66 years. We have a lot of partners inside Europe and inside NATO that we can work together with. And the United States is also having problems. Canada, even Mexico, they are neighbors. They are having trade wars. So Turkey, of course, can turn to its other neighbors like Russia, Qatar, Indonesia, Malaysia, China.
Is Turkey in a situation now where it will have to turn to another country or perhaps the IMF for a bailout?
I don't think Turkey has a situation for a bailout. I mean, Turkey is one of the best economies as far as the government debt ratios are concerned. I mean, Turkey's debt ratio is quite easily manageable, which is about 30%.
But today we've seen the central bank loosen the kind of capital ratios that banks need to hold and so on. There clearly is a problem.
Yes, but that is for the private sector debt. There are companies who get foreign credits, even though we have urged them to be careful about taking foreign credit. Some private companies and private banks went into deals with the European banks and other banks, and now they are trying to get some foreign currency because they think that they may have difficulty in returning their debts. But the Turkish Central Bank and the Treasury is helping them, making them calm, and saying that we will provide you the liquidity that you need, so you don't need to purchase euros or US dollars from very high prices. You don't have to hurt yourselves because we have this capacity. We have $35 billion tourism revenues only this year. We are expecting to reach 100 billion US dollars tourism revenues in a couple of years. So Turkey doesn't have a capital problem or foreign exchange problem. If I were a foreign investor, that would be the best time to come into Turkey and invest in Turkey, because Turkey is going to shine in the very near future because we have the human potential, we have the geopolitical advantages, we have the trade deals, we have logistical connections to Asia, Europe, Middle East. So Turkey is not going to stay as an isolated country.
Would the best, most immediate step that Turkey could take right now be to make amends with America and actually release Pastor Brunson and get away from the sanctions that could be potentially very painful for Turkey's economy?
If Pastor Brunson is released, that's going to be a very big mistake because it's going to be a political decision, and it's going to show Turkey as a country which does not implement rule of law.
Well, given that difference of opinion, the release of Andrew Brunson versus your demands for Fethullah Gulen to be brought to justice Is Turkey essentially moving away from the West? Is there the potential for Turkey ultimately to leave NATO?
Most of the problems inside of NATO is because of the attitude and actions of the Trump administration. Turkey has been abiding by the principles of the NATO, and we have a responsibility towards our European partners for the security of this region. Without Turkey, most of our European partners will be very disturbed because they are saying that United States may have different interests as a country on the other side of Atlantic. But we are at Europe, we are together, and our security interests and Turkey's security interests inside NATO are much more closer than America's self-interest. We will follow our path as a responsible NATO partner. If United States wants to withdraw from Turkey, that's their decision. They can do it.
That's Ahmet Berat ÇONKAR from Turkey's ruling AK party. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has criticised Jeremy Corbyn and accused him of laying a wreath on the